All right, we're live. Hello, welcome. I know we missed last week. It's tax season, you guys, and spring break. So we took
Spring
a
break,
little
yeah.
break last week, and then we got so lucky now that we're coming back this week that to have Valerie Wood with us again. And I just love it
Aww.
when we have you come on because we always have some really amazing discussions and new ways of looking at things, which is uh kind of what we're thinking about. I mean, I think what we're talking about for the show itself is not really changing the content or the delivery, but kind of the package that it's in. Um, it's
We're going to
just
ship out a DVD? No.
no, no.
I remember those.
We're gonna look at really just trying to focus on turning the lights on, right?
Yeah.
Turning the lights on, just turning the lights back on. And trying to spread that energy and that frequency
Right.
as far as
Spread
we
the
can.
love, spread the light. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in.
So, but it's not going to change what we talk about, really, or
Yep.
the
What we've
fact
always
that we'll
been
be
doing.
sharing our own opinions. So, anyway, so John was on spring break. He was on vacation, climbing mountains and hiking and things. Which if you hear I did that, you better call the authorities. But you had a good time, right?
Mhm. Yes, we did.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. Family time, and it's always good and important to have that.
Yep.
I have good memories where you were. You were in Gatlinburg, and I've been to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, one of the few vacations I've taken in my life. But that's not for the talk show. So I'm excited, though, to have Val here. I had a lot of fun, but it was the 80s, okay? So that's all I'm saying. I'm so excited to have you here, Val, because something came to me when Teresa Caputo has a new show right now called Raising Spirits. I think that's what she's
Sweet.
called it. And I really, I think we all know I had a problem with her for a bit because I don't care for the way it appeared that she just sort of ambushed people and said, "Oh, I've got a message for you."
Yep.
Because I don't think you should be poking around people's energy without permission. However, I decided that those people couldn't be on the show without their permission. You just can't do that in TV land.
No,
so those
yeah.
people must have been okay with it.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sure.
So what I've been doing, because anyway, she's a character. I adore her hair and I love her family, right? Like, but I've been watching what she does and how she works and I think this is really the goal for mediums in general is to help the human heal, right? To help the human heal. But what I noticed is when she's speaking with the departed and talking, giving messages in a way, and that's her whole goal. Like that's even in her spiel. I'm here to help give you messages to help you move forward and heal. What I've noticed is that when she's speaking to the departed, sometimes it will come up that the message from the departed, be it a mother or father, whatever, will be something to the effect of, "I'm sorry for being such a way," right? "I'm sorry for being overbearing," or "I'm sorry for this," or, or that. And as I was sitting there listening, I heard Pink. Pink is my Akashic record guide. And she said, she's doing Akashic healing for the departed.
Oh.
So they are, we think of working in the Akashic record and working with humans and humans who are here and helping to clear those patterns of choice and action. So that, we want to clear it from the record so that moving forward in this life and in the next and the next and the next, you're starting from a clear slate, clearing those patterns. And so what she said was that for a time, and time is not really relevant on the other side, it's, more a human construct, but for a time on the other side, they recognize those patterns that have come with them from the physical world into the soul world. And this gives them an opportunity to clear them. So where it might be something that would have stayed with them into the next lifetime, now because they were fortunate enough to connect with a medium or someone who could bring them through and deliver the message, they've been able to do some of that clearing before they even come back. I mean, and I was just like,
wow.
I never heard of, like you never hear anyone talk about that, but and
Brand
Pink,
new
I mean,
information.
you could just see her with her glasses standing there telling me this story, and I was just like, wow. So I would love to hear, what your folks
Valerie,
on the other side have to say, or what you think, or I mean, it never occurred to me.
Angie, I just got to say that's really, really, really brand new information.
I think so, right?
You've got something really solid there. Wow.
Well, and it's I've always said, I'm capable, right, of doing mediumship work.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it, because I was like, well, when I was having a conversation with Michael, through you, Val, and I said, well, do you think I'll be ever able to talk to the departed on the other side? And he said, well, you're talking to me, right? And I said, yes. And he said, well, where do you think I am? And I was like, oh, okay.
It's very funny. That sounds just like him.
There's always something like that. But
That's hilarious.
I am in a point in my life where I want my work to really be kind of fun and joyful, right? And so I never really pushed myself into that direction. Not because I don't think those people need help, but maybe it's just not the best suited to be the one that delivers it. But now it's got me rethinking about maybe there's some way for me to package that, in my own mind, so that if it comes up, I can, instead of just saying sorry, move on. Let's see what we have here, and let's see where we go with that. So I'd love to hear
marketing your services to the other side.
Right.
I love that. That's a new concept.
But put up office hours, because you don't want them showing up whenever they feel like it.
That's right. SEO for the spirit world.
I'm hearing Michael. I'll sign up when you come over there, Angie.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't
you
need to
ask
sign
him
up.
to kind of maybe build an email list or something over there.
Right? I don't know. Does MailChimp function on the other side? Is that angel mail? Or
we got to stop, because this conversation will take the entire hour if we let it.
Totally.
Yeah, that is true. But I'd still like to hear what Val thinks.
Yes,
so
please.
Yeah, you know what? They actually have talked about that with one-on-one and some of my clients who ask questions like that. And so I'm hearing the answer is that everything we've ever experienced still exists somewhere in time and space, whether wherever. And so even when you cross over, the person that you were in this lifetime and the experience that you had, say, a daughter and a father, we're just going to go with that still exists somewhere, because energy is never destroyed. It exists somewhere. Right. And so what happens, and I love how you put it, that connecting the dot to the records, because I hadn't necessarily thought about that, but because it's all connected, is a sense of that when someone comes from the other side, which is really common, they're connected to the best highest self. They have access to everything that they were here in humans. And let's face it, there are a lot of humans that probably aren't so nice, right?
Right.
Or maybe even if they weren't nice, maybe you just have a complicated relationship and it's just two people just butting heads. They can't agree and they don't have the same beliefs or whatever this is. And so when they come over, it is actually common for a loved one to come over. And one of the first things that you often hear is that I'm sorry. They're acknowledging what their behavior. Sometimes what I hear a lot is, I don't need you to say sorry back. I know, you may be ready to forgive me or maybe not. Mm-hmm. I need to tell you that I understand my behavior and that I have regrets or that I'm just sorry. And it is a way for them to heal their, in essence, I guess you would say past, because that's the only way kind of, humans explain to it. But it's a way for them to start healing on the other side, an experience that already exists somewhere in time and space. So it's in essence healing their own lives and healing their own spirits and so forth. And that energy. I've had, my own stuff, and I would say, well, if you're on the other side, aren't you already 100% healed?
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought.
right? You think that. And that was my question. Like, oh, why is this person coming back? Aren't they already healed? And the answer is that everything you experience, it still exists somewhere. You know, the energy of it, the emotion of it is still existing, because energy cannot be destroyed. It just can be transmuted and changed. And so that is why they still can connect to that. Still, that's why going back, whether you're on the other side or doing the work from this side, healing that is positive for everyone, and that it will impact your records, and it'll impact where you are in this moment, but also impact your past, also impact your future.
Right.
And they know that, and they give you an opportunity to heal that up. And, you know, for some people, that's just enough. I wanted my parent or my partner or friend or whatever acknowledge that, and that they're sorry. And other people, it's still not enough, and they're just still going to go on their own journey. But at least it's a start, even if it's not enough. It's a start to, you know, have that conversation around their healing.
Well, I mean, humans are a complicated thing to heal, right? And if a human can't find compassion, then healing is, I mean, compassion is a bridge to forgiveness, and forgiveness is a bridge to healing, right? Like that's just how it works. But what I think is interesting about what you said is that, you know, all of these things are still present somewhere. And that truly, to me, then explains why a soul, when it reincarnates, brings these patterns of choice and action back with them. Right.
They haven't
so
yet.
To me, that validates the idea of Akashic work and Akashic healing and the importance of it. So, and I love the fact that you can do Akashic work now while you're here in your physical body, and it can have an impact on the rest of your physical life. So, I love the idea of it. I mean, you hear all the time, we're all connected. It's all connected. Everything is connected. And yet you're here as an individual, you know, with your own singular consciousness in the physical body, right? And it also still supports my statement that there are no troubled souls, only troubled humans. But because the souls bring those imprints back to the other side with them, they can still appear to be restless or negative in some way. To me, negative is out of alignment with, you know, whatever else. But I mean, who knew? Teresa Caputo, I got it from Teresa Caputo. Like,
love that.
You just never know where the information is going to come from. So, I love that. I love that. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
I love that.
Thank you so much. So just, you know, we'll just have Michael, you know, he could sign up on my checklist and oh my gosh. Actually, I haven't spoken to Michael in a while. So I think
it's been a little while.
It's been a while. So that would be fun.
And that does kind of remind me of something I heard this morning. So I'm on a year-long program with Marianne Williamson.
Oh yeah, love her too.
Yeah, she's really good. And she had her kickoff a couple of days ago, and I was watching the recording. And one of the things she said is, you know, us as people are gonna have issues. And she said, all right, she said, okay, everybody listen. I want you to listen to this. Here's something you can ask yourself if you're having issues with someone. She said, you are only here to be truly helpful. Now, pick a situation that has been causing you stress or has caused you stress in the past and truly ask yourself, were you there to be truly helpful in that situation? And I was like, And I started thinking back to some of the things that, well, my problem, not, you know, in my hike, where I didn't quite make it all the way up, I was kind of cranky. And I thought, okay, at that point, I was not being truly helpful. So it just kind of relates to a little bit with what we were talking about. When people cross over, they realize in many circumstances they were not truly helpful.
Probably not.
Because I'm not.
That's funny because I hear Michael says, well, that's open to interpretation depending on the experience of the person. Because on some people,
thank you very much.
You know, because Michael's big about fear, judging. He's the archangel of dispelling fear and the warrior. So he'll always say that you humans judge too much and judge yourself. Maybe in that you were expressing yourself as you need, and you weren't maybe being helpful to the others. But in essence, you were being your authentic self there. And maybe you were giving them, he said, but if you were helpful, he's like, maybe you were giving them a heads up that you may not want to go the rest of the way up, because John and I were talking before that hike. I didn't make it up that same hike in Tennessee. And that feels like he says you can give them a heads up. So your little ornery.
That's a real, important distinction. And the context is very important. I agree with that.
Yeah. And also, we judge things too much, I think.
I 100% agree. And I just know how that was going to be delivered out of my mouth. And I'm really glad you delivered it in a better way. So, but also, that might not be what I chose to come here to do. I might have chosen to come here and to be dissonant, to stir the pot, to
tell it like it is.
So it, and then on top of it, when you're talking about something like what happened with you on that hike, that could have been a physical response, a chemical response within your body.
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with whether or not you're here to be helpful either. So I think my reluctance is always when somebody wants to say it's this way, it's this one way. Could it be correct? Sure, of course it could. But could it also not be correct because the interpretation is different, like Val said? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for anyone to say that it's just this way, because I'm the first one to say, I believe how I operate in my life is how it is for me. But if it doesn't work for you, I have to be okay with that, because
that's a good point.
Not me, right?
Like, that goes back to you do you, I'll do me. And And it also goes back to if Lisa were here, she would tell you that Angie says she's going to do what she wants to do when she wants to do it, and that is in my astrological chart. So I permission to
really
be 100%
vehemently
Angie.
object to people telling me what to do or how to be. So that's that too. Yeah. And then there's other things. But
Marianne Williamson's always come from a place from compassion and love. And so of course her view is going to be, how can we be of service and be helpful? Because her, I almost get the impression that her mission is, how do we change the dynamic and shift collectively as a whole to be in service, to be helpful to one another. And that's her way of probably, creating that conversation of where in your own life can you be helpful? How can you be more compassionate? How can you be kind, and how do you express that?
You're completely right about that.
And I think so from that perspective, I absolutely think, we need to be helpful. But you're right, sometimes at first and foremost, I truly think just from hearing them, you have to be your authentic self, and we're humans. And sometimes, if you're going to climb up a cliff thing that's straight up and you're dying,
you got to say so.
You got to say something.
Right. And
I'm not doing that. That sucks.
I mean, and I don't want it to sound like I don't think we should be of service. Right? Because that's not what I mean by that at all.
No.
I find her a little bit objectionable. That's me. I don't like her energy, but that's my opinion.
That's
but I've always felt that way, and I'm not the only one I know that feels that way. So, which is not to say that her message is not valuable. Very much like I object to organized religion, but there are messages within organized religion which are very, very important. But I grow concerned about anything that creates a huge following of a bunch of people collected, all thinking the same way. And that I'm going to leave it at that.
Sure.
I find that concerning. Holy fire Reiki, right? Access bars, right?
Right.
And I can hear access bars in somebody's conversation without them ever even mentioning it.
Right.
So
you pick up on the keywords.
Yes, absolutely. So,
You know what I think what I'm hearing is that you don't like absolutes because it
I
keeps you
don't.
stuck in a corner. It keeps you in a box. It keeps you,
Yeah.
you know, not being
That's
able
And
to
it
well
keeps
said.
everybody that way,
fluidly.
though.
That's well said.
Yeah. Mhm.
But there are people that like boxes, that corners feel
Good. And
comforting
it
to
feels
them,
Right.
comfortable.
right?
Right.
And so I don't discount the value of it.
Mhm.
I just, because my mission is to empower people to understand that they have a connection to and a toolbox that contains everything they need without assistance from anyone.
Mhm.
Which is not to say that they shouldn't listen to
No.
us. That's not what I mean by that either. But
Mhm.
you have the power to make your own choices and decisions. You don't have to, like, even when they taught me Reiki and they go, you put your hands like this, I go, I don't. Or when the
I
girl
can
told
totally
me
see
when I
that.
was first going to take Reiki, and she said, oh, you're going to be miserable for the first 2 weeks. You're going to be releasing all this stuff and you're going to be angry for no reason. And I looked at her and I said, no, I'm not. And she said, yes, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And guess what? I wasn't. So it's that, when you have thoughts like that, you contribute to the collective consciousness. And some things in the collective consciousness are helpful and organized, like the colors of the chakras, which in actual fact, Roy G. Biv has actually nothing to do with the chakras themselves. That's a human construct in the
We kind of
collective consciousness.
all decided together. Yes.
Right, for the purpose of organization. And it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep.
Unless you hate orange, which I do. So, power color orange, my least favorite of all. Purple is a power color. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. I spend time in meditation outside the collective consciousness. I found a way to access that. I dig it there. I dig it there. Like, I really like it there a lot. So, we're all different, right? We all bring different things to the party. Anyway,
you want to switch gears onto manifestation and money?
Yeah, I'd really love to hear what you hear about this, Val.
Yeah. I don't know if we need to state the question more clearly, but here's the gist of my question, and that is, there's a lot of different ways to manifest. There's a lot of different ways, but I keep running into the situation where I run a business, I have clients, and at the end of every month, I'm like, this is not what I was expecting to have happen this month. What can I do to make it a better month next month? And not just market better, work harder, and be a better business person. What can I do energetically to make those things come easier and smoother and manifest?
I would like to have one fast answer, and then I'm going to let you have it.
Go ahead.
You need to cut yourself off from the people who aren't willing to pay you what you're worth. You've heard that from me before.
I
need
have.
to cut them off.
I have.
That's an energetic drain. If you look at it from the perspective of energy, that's an energy drain that is taking up space for the people who are actually willing to pay you what you're worth. You have to cut it off.
And maybe part of that is asking what I'm worth.
You're right. Exactly.
Here's the price. I'm not going to cut the price this time. Here it is.
Yeah, right. That's so hard. I'll tell you. I promise I'll let you talk, Val. When I owned my Liberty office, I had a Liberty franchise for a long time, and we had a target average net fee. Like, that's really how the income tax industry works. It's not necessarily how much they charge you individually, but how many returns do you do? How much do you take in? What is your average net fee? That's what you need to be successful and to have an income, to have a net income. And so the prices would be set. They were recommended by corporate. I had control, but I also had control over discounts. And I'm here to tell you that not a single one of my tax preparers wanted me to finish a tax return for them and execute the invoice. Because I would look at the fee and I would go, oh God, $50 off. And they'd be like, why would you do that? The people were more than willing to pay the $250, let's say. And why would you cut it to $200? And then in turn, I was actually affecting their income because they got, an hourly plus a percentage.
Yeah.
So they were like, stay out of the office, let us handle this. And when I did, they were able to, there was no complications. There were no complications. Very rarely did anybody argue
That's a good
about
point.
how much the fee was.
That's-
And then the last thing I'll say is that John Hewitt, in all of his wisdom, he's created two giant income tax franchise, said if at least 80% of the people aren't telling you your prices are too high, they're probably too low. So
Ooh.
give that some thought,
Ooh,
you
that's,
know, right?
that's really
Give
good.
that some thought and close off that energy drain
Okay.
of the people who want and aren't willing to pay you what you're worth.
Interesting.
Okay. That's it.
Love that. Mhm.
It's good stuff, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's valuable information for anybody that's listening that's in business, you know.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
That imposter thing is legit. It's real.
Yep.
It is. Absolutely.
It's real.
Yeah. So it was funny. I was just telling them before we went live is that when I was taking my dog out for a walk, this is exactly what I was thinking about, John.
Okay.
Like, no wonder.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
My
No, not at
thoughts
all.
were about money and the energy of money and what is the energy of money, going kind of back to basics and
Yep.
so forth. And on my walk, I was hearing that, and I can actually see money in the ether. It's like floating around. And so on my walk, they were saying for each individual person you really need to connect to the vibration of what money is for you individually. What are you going to bring? What is money going to bring to you? Is it going to bring freedom? Is it going to bring, more confidence in your life, right? Does it bring power? There's all these things that money can signify for our people. And then they said, really, we want you to start learning how to receive. And when you said the word receive, I thought, I felt like that was kind of the key answer. And so they were telling me, you go home, you sit with what you think the energy personally of money is going to be, the vibration, and what's it going to bring you. And then I thought, well, I can have freedom. What's the energy of freedom for you? How does that feel in your body? I'm like, I'll be really happy. What does the energy of happiness feel like? Oh, I'll be like joyful. What is that? So I literally went in my little atrium, sitting out, looking out through my trees. And I sat there and they're like, okay, first, we want you just to connect with what you think money is going to feel like. That we want you to feel that. We want you to be in line with that. Start with joy. And I said, well, what does joy feel like to me? Allowing that to come into my body. What is freedom? Then I thought, okay, what does freedom feel like to me? Allowing that to come in my body. What is happiness? And then what is confidence? So with this imposter syndrome, we don't really have confidence. If you have that, you don't have confidence in yourself.
Right. Yep.
What does that feel like to you? And I sat there for, I think about 15 minutes, not long, because I had another client, so I had to cut it off. But I felt like I was just bringing in all of these energies of what money really would feel like to me.
Sure.
Because when you think of, well, what does money feel like? We all have our own individual labels or ideas or whatever this is. And they were like, no, let's just start. What's it feel like to you? What do you think it's going to bring you? And get into alignment. And then, they have, and I know Angie works with the Hearst. I think I could hear like 425, listen to like music that are like at 425. It can help your body get acclimated. So just for a few minutes, because that's all I had, I went on YouTube and clicked 425 Hertz. And they were like, being lucky, being abundance, getting money now. I was like, oh, that's
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
So-
And I just listen to that for a few minutes.
I can't even tell you just how fascinating that was to listen to that, because you literally just described part 3 of the ZXUH method program.
Oh, there you go.
Connect the energy of what you want. You literally just described it. So, and it's already written. So I think we're all on the right wavelength then.
I think because I knew I was going to be connecting with you,
Seriously
right?
connecting.
And
It's like we planned this.
Anyway,
We're so connected, yeah.
I think so there was a couple of things that I like to highlight in what you just said.
Absolutely.
That I find to be really interesting. One is, first of all, for me, my whole manifesting process is connecting to the energy of what you're trying to create.
Right.
Becoming really clear. And I think that is a big problem for people, especially when it comes to money, because they don't have a clear idea of what it brings. For example, and I love this example. You said, what is that? What does it bring? It brings freedom. Okay. So if it brings freedom, you have to really look at what is it that you're inviting into your life. For example, I don't believe you can manifest winning the lottery. Okay. I think it's a crapshoot, but somehow it happens. But those people who win the lottery, that win 450 million, let's say, now they think, oh, freedom, right? There's no freedom in winning $450 million. There's no freedom in that at all, because it's a full-time job to manage that much money. And if they're not in alignment with that, that's how they wind up losing all the money in the first place. So it's really important to take those energies and what they look like and be really clear what they mean. So you never, and I think Val, you recognize this one, you never create freedom for yourself by creating the energy of obligation.
No. Yeah, we've had conversations.
Freedom is the polarity of obligation, right?
Exactly.
They are at odds with each other. So the idea of money, I mean, I remember getting called on a comment I made in a group I was in, and I said, well, I don't necessarily want to make millions. And they were like, oh, cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete. And I was like, hold on a minute. I'm conscious of what I'm saying. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I want to have the money that goes along with that. Well, you know what? I don't need 10 million a year for that.
To do that.
I just don't.
Right.
So it's really, really important. I love that you're saying connect to the energy of it and also connect to the clarity of it. Like, it's such a big part of it. How many, and like joy, you brought up joy.
Yeah.
When I ask people in sessions, what brings you joy? Do you know how many people can't answer me?
Sure.
Most.
Right.
Most of them.
Yeah. Sad.
They don't know what joy even is. And to me, joy is another one of those things where, do you really need money for joy?
Nope.
I mean, it can bring you joy.
Sure.
But
it starts inside, though.
That's the key. And that was the key that they were talking about, right? What is personal to you? What is money to you? What is going to represent for you? What do you feel like it's going to bring to you?
Right. And Matthew just said, and you have to remember, money is a tool.
Absolutely.
It's a tool in your toolbox. That's what it is. Money is a tool. Money is not an entity. It's not an enigma. It is a tool. And so it's an energy. So it's a part of an exchange. Right?
Energy.
You work, you get money. That's an energetic exchange. You perform a service, you collect a fee. Energy exchange. So when you show clear boundaries to the universe on how you expect those energetic exchanges to go, then things get easier. I mean, my life is considerably easier than it was 10 years ago. And yet I still have a gold piggy bank and an abundance grid, actually a financial freedom grid, in the southeast corner of my home. So I'm not here to say you can't have magic support the process, but it's all about taking aligned action. Right?
So there was another second part to this that they talked about, which was related to receiving. And I heard this loud and clear for me. I think both of you probably will resonate with that. Probably a lot of people will resonate.
Right.
People who are very, I say, service-oriented spirits. So my spirit, I know what brings me joy. I have to be of service. I have to be helpful. I like doing things.
Right.
And, and they were saying, like you, they were using me as an example on my walk, is that you are content and usually wanting to give your energy. And of course you want compensation because we live in a world that we need to eat and pay bills and so forth. And you have this money, but you are still on this. There's not an alignment between receiving and giving still yet. Like
Okay.
I'm always giving, much more than receiving, because I'm not quite in alignment with receiving yet.
Right.
Are
And
we
so,
rejecting? Are we
Well,
rejecting?
I don't
so
know if
I
Go
have
ahead.
personal insight on that. So
Mhm.
because receiving is about receiving. It's not about receiving money, it's about receiving. Right?
Receiving everything.
Everything. And so my biggest lesson for that came from, you're not going to believe this, but purple hair.
Purple hair. I remember that.
Oh, I believe it. It's
So-
you, Angie.
So, well, no, because when I first I wanted purple hair forever. I love it so much. And when I first did it, and people would say, "Oh my gosh, I love your hair," and I would go, "Well, I do too, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too old, or maybe it's not the right color, or maybe it's this, or I don't know that, or somebody would say, 'Oh, you look great today.' Well, yeah, but I'm not really feeling,
Yeah.
And then finally, and in their ultimate wisdom, they're like, "Do you know you can just say thank you?" And so
And receive it.
right, and
Yes.
receive it, and that is the
Yeah.
point. So I think for a lot of people, a way to test how they are with receiving is, how does it make you feel when I say, "Val, you look great today. I'm so happy to see you." Or, "John, it's been over, it's been over a week. It's been a long time.
Mhm.
I just really love that comment that you made about whatever." And really look at like that reaction that you get, because that will tell you how you receive, how you take things in. Because it's also okay. This is something that a lot of people are probably going to have a problem with. It's okay. He says the word demand. It's okay to demand that you receive what's coming to you.
Oh.
And I don't mean stomp your foot but it's okay to command it, right? Like to expect it, to
Expected. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's imposter syndrome. It's a question of self-worth. It's a question of self-doubt. It's all of those things all together, but start with understanding how you receive and how you can impact that. That is really, really a great point.
Yeah.
You know what I love that you said, Angie? How does it feel to you? Because I was saying this to someone else the other day. I was, who wanted to do like mediumship. And I said, it's not just about up here.
Right.
I'm like, you have to embody it, And so I'm like, how does it feel when somebody says, "John, I love your blue shirt. That's my favorite color," which it is. And so, right. And then if it's embodied, how does that feeling of receiving is embodied in your own physicalness? Will give you a clear energy of what you're willing to receive, what you're okay with. Where maybe are you on the scale from 1 to 10? So when Angie says to me, "Look good," I'm like, "Oh, great. I can accept that. Thank you." But maybe I won't be able to accept something else, or I feel if I'm listening to my body, I'm feeling tight. I feel like my jaw clenched. I'm feeling restricted. If we say raise money, raise your
I
feet.
think if there is anything like that for me, I can't. I mean,
or maybe it's in your head, but that's still embodied.
Right. It's all. And then here's another one, and this is
I can't
directly related to money. A lot of people receive money, and this was me, even not now, not anymore. I ironed it out, but a lot of people, and this actually is familial for me, receive money and get rid of it as fast as they can. So in other words, you get it. Let's say, for example, you get your tax refund, not return. Return is the paper that it's written on. You get your tax refund and immediately go out and blow it on a new TV and a down payment on a car and whatever, because the energy of having that money is uncomfortable, and you go out, and so it's just another aspect of the relationship to money, right?
Yep.
So
you know what it is for me? It's something happens like in the house, like, all right, I'm going to go fix this right now, and I'm going to buy something to fix the problem. And that's how money flies out of my hand.
I hear that one.
Oh, yeah, right.
Even something that's lost. Shoot, I can't find my box of such and such. I'm just going to go buy another one. because
that's the best way to find something is to go buy a new one.
and then you find the
Cindy
second
and I
one.
have talked about that.
That's funny.
I mean, what is the best way if you lose something to find something is to go buy a new one, and then all of a sudden it reappears.
There it
I don't
is.
understand how that works, but no, and it's that whole, remember that old adage, right? Throwing good money after bad. It's kind of the same thing,
I think
right?
there's an element to that, but I think where the money flies out of my hand is where I'm like, I'm going to fix this problem and I'm going to do it with money, as opposed to
right. When in fact, it's not really
been
money that you need to fix it, right?
Right. It could have been time. It could have been thinking it through. It could have been, this really isn't the problem. I don't have to do that.
Ooh.
And you and I talked about this a little bit the last time, I think, that I mean, I do have Amazon packages that are still not open, because I have these ideas, these delusions
Yeah, right. Oh, yes.
of
You
what's going
buy
to
all
make
the
it work.
pieces for a project, and then you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll do that project later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then it goes and sits and collects dust.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's an interesting relationship we have, but I think the way you treat it when you receive it is also has an impact on how you actually, or how much you actually receive. So John, do you remember when we did the gratitude oracle, which we should do again, because that was
I agree.
fantastic.
That was a really good one.
And when we tried it out and I drew the cards for myself, and the card or however it worked, but the card I got was about money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We had received a windfall, and I never sat and offered gratitude for that money.
Yeah. Which is important.
Specifically, like, I'm always grateful for but I feel like sometimes when you have a windfall or something unexpected, it's a good idea to offer gratitude, connect to the energy of the gratitude for it individually.
Yeah,
right.
To make a point of it.
Because I'm globally, grateful for the roof over my head and my pool and food and all those things. But this was significant and meant significant things to our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so to sit and offer gratitude to that individual thing, and that goes back to what you said about sitting in the atrium and connecting to the energy. How does it make you feel? And I got to tell you, when it first came, that money, I freaked out. Like, I was like, because I'm just waiting for them to come and take it back, or all of those things.
You don't trust
right?
it. Yeah.
Right. You don't trust it. I grew up with parents who grew up in the Depression. I had parents who got their house foreclosed on when I was 14 years old that, went broke. And then I raised myself from the time I was 16. So I don't have any good role models, anybody that really showed me anything about, because really, honestly, when I was, from the time I was 17 and I started working, I made a lot of money when I was young, working in restaurants. If somebody would have taught me the concept of saving, I probably, when I was 25, could have bought a house. But instead, I just spent it as fast as it came to me. So it is a significant relationship that you have to work on in all aspects. It's not just one thing.
Here's an example of that. When I was growing up, our family was very poor. Coupons and hand-me-downs and and thrift store and all that stuff, right? And so that was it was a good environment. I was very well cared for, but it was very, very poor. I met this guy in college, and he would like walk into he wanted a part-time job. He'd walk into a place, he'd say, I can do this job. And they made him assistant manager. And suddenly he's like, I said, James, you can't do that. That's not how it works. And he says,
and yet.
And I always remember his somehow ability to walk into a room and command or expect the very best and receive it. And I was like, her.
No, I mean that's another one that can really shift things for you, is the idea of I remember having a conversation with somebody I know, And the idea of lower your expectations so you won't be disappointed. Wrong. Raise your expectations so the world rises up to meet you, right? And I think that that's what you're talking about is somebody who walks in and just expects, and who knows what kind of an upbringing he had.
Sure. Yep.
I don't expect that he was a spoiled person.
No, he was.
You know what I mean? I
right.
would actually think he was, what is that word? Like, not emboldened is not the right word. He was taught to believe in himself. He was taught to, you can do whatever you can do if you put your mind to it,
just knowing that the world is going to be a good place.
Right. Because a lot of people who don't have money tend to teach their kids that the world is a cruel place.
Yeah, that's
and that
true.
money is hard to come by.
That is true. Yep. Case in point here.
Right. Exactly. And I'm here to tell you, I can't figure out where my mother worked and my father worked. My father was a union electrician in the, in the 60s and the 70s, making. I remember hearing $25 an hour. I remember hearing it. $25 an hour in the 60s and the 70s.
That's
the house
huge.
payment was $250 a month. Like, what? How did we lose our home? Where did that money go?
Where did that money go? Yeah.
I mean, so it was, came in and they got rid of it as fast as they possibly could. It had to be like and so my relationship with money has been fraught over the years as well. It is easing itself out now, but man, it would have been better if I was younger when that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you translate that into how do you apply that?
Yeah. That's a good question.
To a successful business, right? To a business. And Val, I'd love to hear what you think. I think that if you're trying to create a business that is in alignment with your mission and what you want to put here on earth, you're going to have a hell of a lot easier time making money than if you're doing something simply to make the money, right? Which, I mean, you can't discount all the crazy things that go on in this country. But if you are a light-centered person with that sort of mindset, I think that, I've seen it where people have been miserable in their jobs and they quit to give themselves a better opportunity to do something they really love. And then they go and apply for the same job, just other places. And they never get the job. They don't find a job and they get frustrated. It's like, well, are you applying for the same kind of job that you had? Well, yeah. Well, no. And then when they go and find something that they love, all of a sudden they do get the job. So, maybe is that something we have to look at too? It's like, for me, individual energy sessions, not my thing. Just turns out it's not my thing. I'm good at it. I like to do it. I don't enjoy it. I don't want to do it for work. And so why all this time has it been such a struggle for me to gather a clientele of people to do individual energy sessions with? Right. I don't really want to do it.
Right. Yep.
I love this. I love I love these group classes, and I love working with people on a grander scale, and not. So I don't know. What do you think?
Michael said there's a lot to unpack here. So
yeah, right.
Okay, so first I'm hearing, I think that the key word that everybody keeps talking about is being with the energy, is that feeling it within your body. So when I'm hearing when you need to pay attention. So John, perhaps when the sink plumbing breaks or whatever that is, and you're feeling it in your body, when we feel things in our body that are uncomfortable, the thing we want to do is release. Like we just want the quick fix.
Yep.
And your mind says, I'm going to just go and it'll be just easier to get that little PVC pipe or whatever it is. I'm going to go out and fix it instead of I could just take the time to fix it. So he says, one, in that moment before allowing your ego or the mind to just make a rash decision, allow you to embody the uncomfortable, what that is.
Yep.
And then bring in your own spirit, your own energy, love, whatever, joy, happiness. You want to start feeling, you're going to need to be uncomfortable. 2, once you kind of sit, whether you're doing it in meditation or you're just asking your guys, say, what really is the next best response for me? You're probably going to start embodying something different, a different choice for you, or you'll start to notice, why am I really uncomfortable with this? And I think that's how you're going to get really kind of clear about where your resistance is to receiving, where your resistance is to spending, whatever your resistance is.
Right.
Angie got really clear. She felt the resistance in her body doing like hands-on energy work. Her energy is like, no, that doesn't feel good. But she's really clear why. And so she can say, okay, that doesn't feel good for me. I'm going to go embody doing this kind of work. I'm going to do group work that makes me feel really, really good. So he says it's not like a one size fit all.
No.
But you really need to learn how to embody and feel the energy within yourself, and then pause and question and to say, what is this to me? And you're going to have to be okay with being uncomfortable and to say, why am I feeling uncomfortable? Why do I need to rush out and spend that money to fix it? Why am I frustrated by that? Where is that coming from? And then if you sit with asking some pretty direct, good question, kind of getting insight. Okay, well, I asked my question is because I'm frustrated because I feel like, everything breaks and I have to go fix this. If you're like in my house, I'll be like, oh, I just got this money. And then of course something fixed and you'll be like, oh, right. Like, okay. You hear that all the time. Right?
Rinse and repeat. Yes.
Just repeat, rinse and repeat.
Interesting too,
right?
because the other thing for you, John, is that you're attracted to shiny things, right? And so when you buy something, it's new and it's shiny, right? I know you are. You are distracted by shiny, and I am too. So no shade here whatsoever. I forgot what you said.
Well, no, but the point is like if I want to go fix a problem because there's something broken and I know I can fix it with money. To your same point, Angie, if I see something that looks like it'll like, hey, that can help my business, I'm going to buy that right now. How many of those have I stacked up and never used? Take a wild guess.
Yeah, John, can we do this? Yeah, I got a program. Matter of fact, I have 3 programs for that.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So
that's another example.
Yeah, you're just really not comfortable with being uncomfortable. You want to fix now. So my question would be, why do you have this need to want to fix thing now? Because money, you can fix it quickly.
Right.
Yeah, that's
or true. Potentially. So if you have that new app,
I almost feel like just spending the money solves the problem in and of itself when it actually doesn't.
No.
Okay, so I just would like to point out that my tax guy's got something to say here. You said that you look at it at the end of the month. You the ins, the outs, and the net at the end of the month.
Yep.
He's very proud of you for that because a lot of people don't do that.
Oh.
So I mean that's a big thing.
Okay.
That's the only way that you can monitor what's going on, and you can look at those numbers and you can say, okay, well, these amounts that I'm spending are reasonable, which means I'm not charging enough for what I do, or I'm charging a reasonable fee, so I'm overspending. Where am I overspending?
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
If you use those things as a tool, which is what they're supposed to be, not to mention the fact that if you do that at the end of the year, then when it comes tax time, you do it in January or February, right? Like instead of sending somebody an email at what time on April 9th. 2 of them I got, 2 of them with 5 emails with documents in them from each person.
Right.
But anyway, so the point is there's a lot you're doing right.
Okay.
So also remember not to be so hard on yourself.
Okay.
Right?
I appreciate that.
That's what we do, aren't you know?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what we do. So there's a lot. There was something else. Matthew said something and now I don't remember what it was.
I do want to just put in a little curious thing here. As we've been talking, I've got my email open on my other screen. I just got 2 referrals from 2 different places just now. So
Congratulations.
See, that's amazing.
How does
You
that
know,
feel
it's-
in your body?
yeah,
right? I mean, it's really something when you start shifting energy, how things can,
how things shift.
you know,
Yeah. And how does
how-
that feel? How does that, if you're in your body or you're in your head, how does that feel?
I'm getting tingles actually.
Oh, so there
yeah,
you
like
go.
you can't make this stuff up, right?
You can't make this stuff up. Yep. I'm seriously buzzing right now.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
That's just amazing. Well, so here we went way over today.
You know what? It's worth it. It's worth
It's totally
every
worth
minute.
it. It's totally. This
Every
was
minute.
a really great conversation.
Thank you
And
guys. Fun.
I accept the fact that I'm not entirely sure people stay on for too much longer than this and listen to the actual wisdom. I could do this all afternoon, but I think
Well, it's
this
their
will do
loss.
it for today. So we're going to say, Val, you're going to promise to come back, right?
Of course. I love coming. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. It is
Thank
just
you for
so
having
much
This
fun.
is so
It's so
good.
much fun.
So good.
We learn so much. You just never know. So,
No.
folks, thank you so much for listening. If you've listened this far, we really, really appreciate you. If you haven't yet, please reach down and subscribe. We really would like to hit 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe by June.
in
So-
this lifetime for sure.
Yeah, right. If you like it, share it. If you like us, share it. And if you're watching on Facebook, just pop over to YouTube and hit that button and then continue to watch on Facebook. That'd be cool.
And no one gets hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And we won't
You
have
guys
to
are
use
great.
what we have again. No. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Val. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to end this stream here, but we will see you next week with a brand new topic that, once again, we don't know what it is just yet. So if you have a suggestion, let us know.